Team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and digital insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Early break with Sip and Jake.
Speaking maybe run.
So like speed option, those things, all you want to do.
Speed. I can't see.
It's also it's
Uh-oh.
look what you did. Look what you did. Look at Bill.
Down.
Come on
Just
now.
calm down.
I don't say anything about semicolons or should there be a
Word usage?
parentheses or
Too many commas over there.
too many
Zip. Come on.
run-on sentences. Don't talk about that. It's not my wheelhouse.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning. Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Rocking.
Welcome to Speed and Power on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm your host, Meghan Walker, and on the show, words are hard today. On the show, we dive into the inspiring journeys of individuals who have overcome their odds to make the world today. Oh my gosh, you're making me nervous, Bob. I'm screwing up all my words. But tonight, I'm joined by Harrison on the board. No, you're not. And our special guest, he is a fascinating man who has an amazing story of perseverance. He is a waffle guru, former baseball player, professional model, and now the owner of a successful growing business that is Heavenly Waffles, the one and only Bob Haney.
Well, thanks for having me.
Of course, I'm so happy you're here. Another shout out to Layton's Pub. As always, they provide great food every week. Shout out to Dawn. You gave us so much, and we are so blessed to have you providing for my show, and I'm so grateful. So, guys, make sure to go check out Layton's Pub. The menu will not disappoint you. But, Bob, how's it going? It's a Monday. The eclipse happened today. How are you feeling?
Did you watch any of the eclipse?
I didn't. I was not full of the hype. How about
Kind
you?
of anticlimactic,
Mhm.
gotta say. I didn't have any of the goggles, so I
You
did
looked
it.
at it straight with your bare eyes?
No, I did it old school. So you take a piece of paper and you
Mhm.
poke a hole in it, and then you hold the piece of paper up to the sun or up towards the sun. You put another piece of paper on the other side, and you look at the shadow of. So I didn't actually look at the eclipse. I looked at the shadow of the eclipse.
That sounds like so much work. You could have just gone and got the glasses, Bob.
I tried, but they were sold out. Hy-Vee was all sold out.
Dang. Next time there's an
I
eclipse, you're going to be able to watch
I was
it.
really late
Yep.
to the game.
Oh my gosh. Bill, you have shared your story, just small snippets from here and there with me.
Sure.
And I'm truly fascinated by it because you are such a unique man.
I am.
But we're going
I've had
to
a
share.
crazy life story.
You have.
I have.
And I want to share that with everybody else. So
All
let's
right.
get to the meat and potatoes of it.
Okay.
Where are you from? Let's start off and get to know you a little bit.
I'm from Omaha, Nebraska.
Mhm.
Born and raised until I was 14, and then moved to South Dakota.
Okay. So tell me about your parents. Tell me about your relationships. Did you have any siblings?
So I have. Do you know who Jackie Collins is?
I've heard
not.
of the name.
Jackie Collins
Mhm.
is a writer. She
Okay.
writes really bad stories, really kind of bad, trashy stories. My life story is kind of like a bad Jackie novel, Jackie Collins novel.
Okay.
I have 10 marriages and 9 divorces between 3 parents.
Oh my gosh.
So my mom has been married and divorced 3 times. My biological dad was married and divorced 3 times. My first stepdad was married 4 times, divorced 3 times.
Oh my goodness. You
Yeah.
got a lot of family
A little bit of dysfunction. I have
Yep.
1 biological sister.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 younger adopted brothers. I have a younger adopted sister. I have a younger stepsister, 2 younger stepbrothers, and a half sister that I didn't know existed until I was like 29.
Oh my goodness. So are you like close with your biological siblings at all?
I only have 1 biological sibling, my
Mhm.
sister, and no, we're not
No.
really close.
Okay. Like growing
mean,
up at all?
We were growing up.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of took care of each other because we had so much dysfunction. My first stepdad was an abusive alcoholic who adopted us, me and my sister, when I was 2, when he married my mom. Then they got divorced when I was 7. He got custody of all of us kids. He made even though he wasn't my real dad, made my mom out to be an unfit mother, which she wasn't, but she was having an affair with the tennis pro at the country club who was putting himself through medical
Gosh,
school.
it's like a telenovela in your life. That's
It really
insane.
is. So he had the phones tapped and detectives on my
Mhm.
mom and made her out to be this horrible person. But he was an abusive alcoholic, and she just was, trying to find solace in another man's arms. And it happened to be the tennis pro at Happy Hollow Country Club.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Having all of that happen at a young age, how do you think that affected you long term?
Oh, yeah, that's why I have been through all the things I've been through. Because when you go through things like that and you learn that you can't trust the people who are supposed to love you the most.
Mm-hmm.
You're damaged. And so I was, as a young kid. So when the day my mom had to move out, the night before, my sister and I slept in her bed. I was 7, my sister was 9, and she told us that she was leaving. Horrible, horrible. So the next day, walking to school, I literally cried my whole way to school, and it was the most traumatic. It was like PTSD, or isn't that what it's called?
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah. And it was, literally, I've carried that with me my entire life up until recently. I finally have been able to forgive my first stepdad and just kind of let it go, because I hated him forever. You know what I mean? So it was, and you can't carry those kind of things because it's like a cancer. It eats you alive. And so for years and years, I think that's why with that anger and rage in me, that's why eventually, I drank a lot, did a lot of drugs. And
so like being a young boy, like you said, you cried. Was it like common for you to cry, or did you kind of have to hold your feelings back? Because I
was always kind of sappy anyway. I was like, have you ever seen the movie Brian Song?
I haven't. No.
It's about Brian Piccolo and Gail Sayers. I think it's Gail Sayers, isn't it? Gail? Have you ever seen Brian Song?
I can't nod my head.
I think
it's
it's Brian Piccolo and Gail Sayers. It's they were football players, and Brian Piccolo got cancer and died. And I remember like when I was like 5 years old watching that movie and crying. So The Sound of Music is one of my favorite songs. It's or movies. It's A Wonderful Life, one of my favorite movies. So I'm kind of sappy anyway. But yeah, it was, you learn to, later in life, you kind of learn to harden yourself and not show emotion, just because it got me in trouble when I was living with my dad, first stepdad.
So if we're watching a chick flick, you're going to be crying.
Probably so.
All right. I'll remember that in the future. But how are you as a kid? Because you had a little bit of drama going on, but how are you personally? Like, what are the things you like to do? What were you interested in?
Oh, sports. If I didn't have a ball in my hand or was, racing everywhere I went, athletics was my biological dad played basketball at Creighton with Paul Silas. You probably don't know who Paul Silas is.
Nope.
He was a Hall of Fame basketball player. He was a Hall of Fame coach, NBA coach. He coached the Celtics. But my dad got my mom pregnant when they weren't married, and they went to Creighton. He was academic All-American, or not academic All-American. He was on an academic scholarship, but he played baseball, basketball, and football. He was a blue chip athlete out of Council Bluffs, but it was on a athletic or a academic scholarship. So he's really smart. But the powers that be at Creighton, because he got my mom pregnant out of wedlock, benched him and wouldn't play him.
That's insane.
Oh, it's another added dimension. So he ended up leaving Creighton. He and my mom moved to Columbia, Missouri, and with my sister. That's where I was conceived. He was going to play for Mizzou, but he was this golden boy in high school. He had never had any issues ever in his life. And he, just was so depressed that he got, benched at Creighton, and he just never kind of came out of it. And so my mom ended up divorcing him while she was pregnant, moved back to Omaha, and Bobby was born.
So it's kind of in your blood that you're an athlete.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So baseball was your love. So who got you into baseball? What started that?
My uncle was a baseball player, football player, basketball player, but he was left-handed. So starting when I was probably old enough to hold on to a ball, he always threw the ball to my left hand, so I'd catch it with my left hand and throw with my right hand. Now I eat left-handed, I shoot a shotgun left-handed, I play pool left-handed, but I pitched right-handed, I play tennis right-handed. So I kind of, but because he was a lefty back then, back in the 50s, left-handed athletes were like, especially if they were a football player, because he was a quarterback, this ball spin the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
So, and baseball players, left-handed baseball players only played first base. And so there was this stigma about lefties back then, and he didn't want me to be. So I'm predominantly athletically right-handed, but everything else left-handed.
That is so unique.
And real
Oh my
quick before we
gosh.
get too far here, just so I want to make sure we can see your face. Would you mind just tucking this kind of microphone same way I have it? Take that top.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I know you got model in your background. It wouldn't be fair to try to
Wouldn't be
hide
fair
you
to
behind a
not show it.
microphone. So
There we go.
Exactly. So
I'm so sorry about that.
no, that's that was on me. No,
Okay.
we're set. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
did you love the sport right away, or did you have to just kind of like get into it?
So I played for the first baseball team I played on. I was 5 years old, and I played with 7-year-olds. I was a big kid, so I always played with, older kids, and so I played on a Mutual of Omaha little league team, and I got hit the very first pitch. I cried all the way to first base and loved it ever since. And
Oh
I was
my
little. I mean, I
gosh.
was, but I did. Baseball is all I ever wanted to do.
So that's what you wanted to be when you grew up.
If you asked me when I was 5 and you asked me when I was 18, I wanted to be a professional baseball player.
Dang.
Mhm.
So then, starting to think about college, what was your game plan with baseball?
So I had offers from like Wichita State was looking at me, USC was looking at me, Arizona State, but I didn't want to go. I wanted to be a Husker.
Mm-hmm.
I did.
That's so sweet.
You don't go to a football school to play baseball, at least back
Mhm.
then, because the baseball program back then was really not very good. The weather's not good in Nebraska, and it was worse back in the 60s and 70s and 80s. It just was a lot colder. You got a lot more snow.
Mhm.
Buck Belzer Field was awful. They had this AstroTurf infield, so you could hit the ball 5 feet in front of you, and it could literally bounce into the outfield.
Oh my gosh.
But it just, you walking on it, and I had walked on at Nebraska. I told you the story about me walking on at Nebraska. I don't know if I should tell that story.
You can like slim it down a little bit, leave out a few details. But okay, like walking on is hard.
Yeah.
Like that takes a lot of strength and courage. So like what gave you that?
So I'll tell you this. So my junior year in high school, we didn't have, like, South Dakota doesn't have Legion ball or
Mhm.
high school baseball. So they have sanctioned baseball, but they have American Legion. So my junior year, we had a kind of a dad as our coach. So we didn't have a good coach. And a lot of times I would run practices. And so my senior year, day after I graduated, I moved back down to Omaha. My uncle got custody of me, or guardianship, so I could play for West Side Summer Legion team,
Mhm.
which was an amazing team. All starting 8 positions were Division I baseball players. I mean, we were 44-4 that year.
Mhm.
I was 10-1, batted .486.
What
I
an
mean,
athlete.
we were really good, and I wasn't the best player on the team. Paul Myers probably wasn't. He was a junior.
Mhm.
But it was so much fun. But I played with so many players who were going to play Division I baseball, and I knew, the players that were coming down to Nebraska to play, that I could play with them, and so I didn't even bat an eye. Didn't even think it was a big deal to walk on.
So you walked on, and then tell us what happened.
So I won't say why I wasn't paying attention the first day of practice, or first day of tryouts. But the first day of tryouts, I wasn't paying attention, and I didn't hear Sanders say, the cut list will be outside the athletic department room door every day. And there were like 250. There were so many walk-ons for
Mhm.
2 positions. So I had befriended this kid, Kurt Thomas, who was a pitcher as well. And every day I just, kept going back or whatever. I didn't pay attention. I could tell that, there weren't as many people every
Mhm, they
day.
kept
day in,
dropping
day out.
out,
They're just
yep.
kind of dropping out. And so, so the final day of cuts, or, tryouts were there. The Nebraska team had started practicing. And so the Sanders said the final cut list will be outside the athletic room door, as it has been every other day. And I looked back to this kid, Kurt Thomas. I said, "Have you been going to check?" He goes, well, yes, haven't you? And the two of us were the two who made the team.
You are so lucky. It would have been so weird if you just kept showing up and you gotten cut. Oh my gosh.
They would have just been like, man, this kid's determined.
He just will not give up. But no, I love that.
Uh-huh. So I practiced with the team for 2 weeks. Ray Tromba, who is the coach, said, you're going to be starting the first inter-squad game tomorrow. My high school girlfriend thought she was pregnant. And so I had planned to go back to South Yankton just to be with her, because I wasn't dropping out of school, but she wanted me back in South Dakota that weekend. And I was like, I went back and was so embarrassed because Tromba said, I can't, I got to go back to South Dakota. My girlfriend thinks she's pregnant. And he's like, I wouldn't do that. And I did. And I was embarrassed and I never went back. Ended up drinking and doing a bunch of drugs my freshman year, as a lot of freshmen do. Ended up going through rehab after the summer after my freshman year, and then walked on, played baseball at Iowa Western, played there for a year, and then dropped out of college, quit playing baseball, and followed Kathy, my now wife, to Arizona.
That is so crazy. How was it to leave Nebraska? Because that's where you wanted to be.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough, but because of my I guess my history, my life history, losing things, you just kind of learn to live without things that you are passionate about. My mom was my favorite person in the world. And so I just drank and did a lot of drugs and got over that, or didn't get over it, but just hid that pain, of being embarrassed about it or being ashamed and whatnot. So it was, I still to this day think, you idiot. That's one of the things that really, in my life, I've made a lot of really poor decisions that have been really good lessons for me to learn. That one is one decision that I'm like, you gotta think about it a little bit. Yeah. Every other decision I've ever made, really, I don't regret. I'm not proud of them. And I'll get into, some of the other situations I put myself in that I'm not terribly proud of. But those are the things that made me who I am today. And so I'm grateful for every lesson I was able to learn. I don't think any of them, I don't regret any of the decisions I made, because it taught me something and I had to learn from it, which makes you a stronger person.
There's a quote. It says, I never lose. I always win, or I learn.
Right.
So I love that. What do you think is the biggest thing that you learned throughout that entire process? I bet there's a lot, but what's your one key takeaway?
Don't take anything for granted.
I love it.
Because I took so much for granted. I took for granted that I could do that, that I could walk on and make a Division I baseball team. And the thing of it is I didn't really see what a big deal that was until looking in retrospect, looking back at it and thinking, that was kind of a big deal. Not everybody gets to do that. Very few people get to do that. And so the fact that I, made that decision was like, okay, well, that wasn't such a good one.
So walking away from baseball, how was that?
I was following Kathy, the love of my life, to Arizona.
That doesn't help. You know how when a girl wants to transfer to another school for her boyfriend, you're not helping that situation.
No. Don't transfer. Don't
ever follow your significant other.
Don't ever follow your significant other unless you're married. If you're married, do it. If you're engaged, it's okay. You can do it.
So were you engaged or married, Bob?
I was not. So I'm not advocating. I'm not advocating.
Okay. Okay, rewind a little bit.
Okay.
Kathy, when did your relationship start?
So I met Kathy when I was about 9 years old, and I gave her a ring when I was 12 that she still has.
Love at first sight. I love it. Okay, so after that, what happened?
So then I moved to South Dakota when I was 14. When I was old enough to decide, so if the courts, my sister and I would have gone back to the courts and said, we want to live with our mom, we did. That day was when we told our dad that we were both moving to live with my mom. He called her every single name in the book, yelled and screamed at us, and he was a scary human. And he said, if you two were buried a mile beneath the surface of the earth in a mine shaft, and all I had to do was talk to your mom to get you out, I'm not sure if I'd do it. Yeah. Nice guy.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
oh my goodness.
Chased us down the stairs, yelling and screaming at us.
That is insane.
And then we drove to South Dakota, and it was like we'd done something wrong,
Yeah.
because the courts gave him custody, and
That is so crazy. I can't imagine.
bizarre. It's a bizarre life I've lived.
Oh my goodness.
Understatement of the year.
Yeah. Dang.
Kathy always says that if they did my life story, it'd have to be a trilogy because there's so many different aspects
Mm-hmm.
to it that are just like people shake their head and they're like, that's got to be made up. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have that vivid of an imagination.
I can't even imagine. That is so
I'm
crazy.
not that creative.
Oh my goodness. Well, we will get back to the story. We're going to cut it to break, but this is Bob Haney and this is Meghan Walker on Speed and Power. So we'll be right back.
We'll be here.
No Coffee and Tea inside our 93.7 The Ticket studio is now open 7 days a week. From 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekdays and 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturday and Sundays, you can enjoy burritos, cinnamon rolls, fresh brewed coffee, delicious tea, or even their coffee and cream ale, sold exclusively at the Ticket Mill location. Open 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekdays and 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on the weekends, right here at 1040 O Street in downtown Lincoln.
It's pro time, Nebraska. The Omaha Supernovas, your Major League Volleyball team, are about to hit the court. Mark your calendars for January 24th at 7 p.m. when we host the first ever Pro Volleyball Federation match against the Atlanta Vibe at the CHI Health Center. Witness world-class talent, including national champions and Olympians. Don't wait. Secure your single match tickets today at supernovas.com. and become a part of history.
Who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
At Allo, we believe in the exceptional. From extraordinary whole home coverage to super fast speeds, our local teams are always on hand to make sure your service is running at top performance. Let go of lag, banish buffering, and enjoy outstanding service throughout your entire home. We believe in delivering nothing less than exceptional service, so that's exactly what we do. Visit us at allofiber.com to experience the exceptional.
There's no better way to spark a child's imagination than to get lost in the adventure of a good book. I'm Jenny Benson, president of NSEA. Working together, parents and teachers can help every child succeed. You can help by reading to your child and let your child read to you. Encourage reading in your home and make it a priority. Make reading fun and a time that you and your child look forward to spending together.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association on the station.
A lot of work goes into making Nebraska, Nebraska. Keeping it green. Helping it thrive. Making it fun. Everything that goes into caring for our outdoors, from waters to wildlife, plays a big role in making Nebraska home. Learn how we help conserve our state's natural resources at outdoornebraska.org.
Paid for by Nebraska Game and Parks. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Discover the difference that expertise and experience can make in your real estate journey with Next Ag Appraisal and Realty. Whether you need an appraisal, sales, or farm management, Next Ag comes up with a solution with your legacy and goals in mind. Next Ag isn't just their name, it's your future. So why wait? Visit their website today at www.nextagrealestate.com or give them a call at 402-380-0432 and turn your dreams into reality. Your land, your legacy, their solutions. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty.
Hey guys, Jake Sorensen here from Early Break. The garage door at our house has been needing replacement for a couple years, and a few months ago, we finally did something about it. Steve's Garage Doors and Services was great through the whole process in providing options and also going to the next level to get a door that was approved by our HOA. And best of all, the removal of the old door and installation of the new door was done smoothly with no issues. Call Steve's Garage Doors and Services today at 402-480-2840.
This This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Are you searching for a helping hand in life? Look no further. Integrated Behavioral Health Services is your answer. They're your compassionate, trusted partners committed to guiding you from challenges to triumphs. Their licensed professionals offer personalized therapy for individuals, couples, and families. At IBHS, the focus is you. Experience a life-changing transformation in an environment tailored to your unique needs. Visit ibhealthservices.com today and take that first step towards a brighter future. Discover the power of healing with Integrated Behavioral Health Services. You're not alone. Let them walk this journey with you.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round. And their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to Speed and Power on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm your host, Megan Walker, and I'm joined by Chef Bob Haney of Heavenly Waffles. And we've been diving into your story a little bit. So we've learned a lot. And where we left off,
a lot to
we've
it.
learned a lot. It's a lot to process.
It
but I
is.
love it. I love finding more about you. I love learning about your story and why you are the way you are.
Right.
Okay, so on the story track, you went to Nebraska,
Right.
left Nebraska,
Yep.
went to Iowa Western,
Yep.
dropped out, headed to Arizona to follow the love of your life.
Right.
What happens next in the story?
So we dated for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
And for one reason or another, and neither of us really to this day, we don't remember at all what happened. We didn't argue. We didn't fight. But I was young and insecure, living the life, having the insecurities growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Young men are insecure kids anyway. When you're about 35, you'll start to grow up.
35?
If you're a man, yeah.
I can't wait that long. I can't wait for men to grow up that long. Harrison, you got some years to you.
Yeah, that's bad news.
Oh my
It
gosh.
takes a while. Some men grow up quicker.
Mhm.
It took me a long time. I'll put it that way. But anyway, so I was insecure, and I lived in Scottsdale. When I followed her, I didn't follow her all the way. I didn't go to Tucson because I had been in Tucson before, and I wasn't a huge fan of Tucson. It was really back in the early 80s. It was really kind of sandy and dusty, and I just wasn't a big fan. So I moved to Scottsdale, Tempe, which was just decadent. But after about a year, we ended up breaking up, and that was when I started modeling. I did a calendar. Some guy was drunk in a bar. A lot of my stories start with I was drunk in a bar. From this point forward until about 23 years ago, a lot of my stories were I was drunk in a bar. And so this guy came up and asked me if I wanted to do a calendar. I apparently said yes. I didn't remember it. 2 weeks later, he called. He said, "Okay, we're shooting this calendar today." He goes, "Are you ready?" I'm like, "What?" And he said, "Do you remember talking to me?" I'm like, "No, not really." and he goes, do you still want to do that?" I'm like, "Sure." So I did the calendar, and I was just in a really kind of a downward spiral.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up moving to Kansas City. My mom and stepdad had moved to Kansas City, and I went through my second rehab at 22. And so I got clean and sober for about a year while I was going to AA meetings a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I met this guy who knew the art director for Jones Store, which is a department store in Kansas City. And he's like, "You should model." I said, "Well, I did this calendar." And I was like, and so he gave me this guy's name. He was the art director. And so I went and met him, and he's like, "Okay, we'll use you tomorrow. You'll either sink or swim." And I ended up modeling for them for 7.5 years or so. That's kind of what started my modeling career, so to say. And then I worked in Denver and would do some Cabela's and KG Men's Store. And then I would work in Dallas and do some Wards and Sears. And then I would work in St. Louis and do some Dillard stuff. But I had never really done anything very editorial, magazine, fashion, high fashion. So after about 7 years of that, I ended up moving to Chicago. I went to Chicago to help a buddy of mine move. And I went to like 7 different agencies and none of them would represent me. And so I was like, I've been doing this for 7 years, but my portfolio just looked like garbage. And so Marie Anderson Boyd, who discovered Cindy Crawford, was really kind and said, here's the name of 6 photographers, go to Miami and test, and then come back and we'll see what you do. So while I was in Miami, I ended up meeting this woman, Rosalina Mantini, and she was she was older. She was probably 45 years old at the time. I was like 29. She was traveling with this gay guy, Jacopo Atro. Atro Textiles is the biggest textile company at the time in Milan, sold all of the fabrics to like Valentino and Hugo Boss and Armani and whatnot. So she goes, and I met her at a coffee shop, and she came up and said, have you ever modeled in Milan before? And I said, no, not yet. Again, I'm this hoop bat from Nebraska. And so she goes, well, here's an invitation to a New Year's Eve party. We're going to Acapulco for a few days, but we'll be back on New Year's Eve day. She goes, come to the New Year's Eve party. Tell them you're a friend of mine. And I'm like, okay. So I go back to the pension I was staying at, and I open it up, and it says, you're cordially invited to Prince Egon von Furstenberg's New Year's Eve party. So he was married to, he actually was gay, but he was married to Diane von Furstenberg, the designer. And it was an all white party. Well, this is what a hoop bat I was, I had no idea what an all white party was. And so I ended up calling, like, I have this invitation. What is that? Yeah. I see you're dumbfounded.
Oh my gosh. That is insane.
So I end up going to this New Year's Eve party, and I meet Egon von Furstenberg, the Prince of Italy. And
were you like fan struck when you saw him?
No,
or were you
no,
like,
you can't. You really can't. You can't. You literally can't do. You can't be that way in that industry. You have to believe that you belong there. You have to show them that you belong there, and you can't be starstruck. So he's like, "Well, come to my townhouse tomorrow." One of the bookers from Vertigine, which was a agency in Milan that he owned, or he was part owner, was in Miami for the holiday. And so I went over there, and they're looking through my portfolio and just tearing it apart and pulling pictures out. So the booker, he said, I'm going back to Milan tomorrow. I'll present your stuff to the board. We'll see what they think. And so I was like, okay, cool. So 3 days later, I get this call, and they're like, we want you here tomorrow. And I'm like, because it was men's show season. And I was like, what? They said, I want you here tomorrow. I said, well, I don't have any money, because I didn't have any money. I said, you're going to have to fly me there, give me money, a place to live and money to live on. And they were like, okay. I was like, oh, cool. So I end up 3 days later flying to Milan, 36 hours on a plane, and not layovers and whatnot, but 36 hours of traveling. I get there. I'd had a baseball hat on the whole time. I get there. I go to the agency. I had this little Italian dude who's, driving me around on a scooter. And so the very first casting, I walk in, and sitting there is Gianni Versace, and next to him is Elton John. And again, I'm this hoop bat from Nebraska, and I'm like, holy crap. And so I ended up from there. Of course, Versace liked younger boys, and so I was too old for him. But so I didn't get the job. But anyway, but I lived there for about 4 months. Ended up going to Athens, Greece, and worked there for about 6-8 months, and then went back to Chicago and got representation and continued on.
I can't imagine living that life.
It was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It was very fast paced,
a
lot of drinking, more drugs.
Because I feel like the modeling world, like that's what they do. You know?
Yeah, because what you do is when you go to Milan and you're going on auditions and castings all day, and then you go out and party all night, because you can go. You're kind of like a celebrity. It's weird. Nobody knows who you are, but they know that you're there modeling or trying to work. And so you go to clubs, and you sit in the VIP section and you tell them what you want, and they bring bottles of booze and they bring buckets of ice, and you just sit and drink for free. And it was decadent. It was not good for somebody with an alcoholic personality, which I had. So I ended up trying to think, that was 29. So 6 years later, living that lifestyle, I ended up going to rehab the third time. I ended up going to rehab with Bobby Brown. I used to answer the phone when Whitney Houston would call, and got sober. Went to New York. They sent me to New York to live in a halfway house in Manhattan because I modeled. And so then I ended up working in New York for a while. Went to San Francisco, had this booker booked me for a Gap billboard. And so I go to the job and they're like, where's your shoe bag? And sometimes when you have jobs, you have these brings, you might have to bring 4 different kinds of white shirts or 4 different khaki pants or whatever. Well, my agent in New York didn't tell me that I needed shoes. And so this like 5'2", 23-year-old fresh out of art school, who was the art director, I get there and she goes, where's your shoe bag? And I'm like, well, I wasn't told to bring shoes. She goes, what are we going to do about that? What do you think we're supposed to do about that? Maybe you should go sit in the corner and think about what we're going to do about that. And I looked at her and I'm like, that was one time I did swear. I told her to F off, and I left and walked out of the job. And you know, the hair and makeup people are there, and the photographer's there, and the stylists are there, and everybody, the lighting people, everybody's there. And I'm like, I'm out. So I called my agent in New York, said I'm done. I ended up moving to Taos, New Mexico. My mom and sister had moved there about a year before. I ended up rolling 2 cars in 6 months. Should have died in the first one. No reason in the world why I lived. I rolled the car 4 times. Could have rolled another quarter turn. It would have fallen off a 100-foot cliff. And about 6 months after that, I came to, and I thought, I'm going to end up in jail. I'm going to end up dying, or I'm going to end up hurting somebody in an accident, which I wouldn't have been able to live with. And the second that third scenario passed my brain, it was like God put his hand on my shoulder and took the compulsion to drink away. And that was 23 years ago last Tuesday.
Congratulations.
Best decision I ever made. Second one's marrying her.
I love that. No, you guys are a perfect couple. That's serious. But wow, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah,
years is
23
amazing.
years. It's a miracle. 100%. There's no, I literally probably 2 or 3 months before I was able to stop, or God may help me stop. I remember sitting on the bed at like 2:00 in the afternoon after coming to from the night before and thinking, I'm never going to be able to stop this cycle, because it ruled my life. Either drinking or going to get cocaine. Oh my goodness. Yeah, bad. It was really bad.
Do you ever feel like does temptation ever come over? Or is it just kind of like gone for you?
Gone.
That is a miracle.
It's not part of my life anymore. I know that. So one time I quit for 3.5 years. Actually, on my way to Miami, the first time I had been sober for 3.5 years. I had just stopped. On the way to Miami, I stopped in New Orleans. I was driving, and I felt like a glass of red wine. I got a glass of red wine and was on a 7-year binge after that. So I know what one drink can do.
And addiction's hard. Addiction is so hard to quit.
It's just,
people don't understand that.
If you think of, but you wouldn't understand where I was, and to where I am, but none of what is going on in my life today would have even been possible. Not a million years. Kathy and I would not be together. First of all, I'd be dead for sure.
So if someone's struggling with addiction right now, if they were to ask you for advice, what would you tell them?
It's going to be okay, and you can stop. If I can stop, anyone can stop. And pray to God. Pray to God. He will help you.
That's so beautiful.
Because you can't do it on your own. There's just no way you can do it by yourself. I tried and tried for years and years and years. And it's just, you have to come to the epiphany that those 3 things are going to happen. You're going to end up in jail, you're going to die, or you're going to end up hurting somebody else in an accident.
It was the third one for you that really scared you the most?
I couldn't imagine hurting. I'm not a violent person. I'm not an angry person. And so for me to do something, I wouldn't have been able to live with myself. So, I mean, I went through some pretty dark times. There was so many times I didn't want to live, but by the grace of God, here I am. Hallelujah.
Amen. That is amazing. I love that.
Uh-huh.
I love that so much. Okay, well, this has been another great segment with Bob Haney. I'm your host, Megan Walker.
We haven't even talked about Heavenly Waffles yet.
Man, we'll get back to it. We'll come back to it right after this break.
Break with Sip and Jake.
Speaking maybe wrong.
So like speed option, those things, all you want to do.
Speed. I can't see.
It's also
Uh-oh.
Look what you did. Look what you did. Look at Bill.
Down.
Come on
Just
now.
calm down.
I don't say anything about semicolons or should there be
Word
parentheses or
Too many commas over there.
too many
Sip.
come on. Run-on sentences. Don't talk about that. It's not my wheelhouse.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning.
The Mill Coffee and Tea inside our 93.7 The Ticket studio is now open 7 days a week. From 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekdays and 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturday and Sundays, you can enjoy burritos, cinnamon rolls, fresh brewed coffee, delicious tea, or even their coffee and cream ale. Sold exclusively at the Ticket Mill location. Open 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekdays and 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on the weekends, right here at 1040 O Street in downtown Lincoln.
It's pro time, Nebraska. The Omaha Supernovas, your Major League Volleyball team, are about to hit the court. Mark your calendars for January 24th at 7 p.m. when we host the first ever Pro Volleyball Federation match against the Atlanta Vibe at the CHI Health Center. Witness world-class talent, including national champions and Olympians. Don't wait. Secure your single match tickets today at supernovas.com. and become a part of history.
Who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
At Allo, we believe in the exceptional. From extraordinary whole home coverage to super fast speeds, our local teams are always on hand to make sure your service is running at top performance. Let go of lag, banish buffering, and enjoy outstanding service throughout your entire home. We believe in delivering nothing less than exceptional service, so that's exactly what we do. Visit us at allofiber.com to experience the exceptional.
There's no better way to spark a child's imagination than to get lost in the adventure of a good book. I'm Jenny Benson, president of NSEA. Working together, parents and teachers can help every child succeed. You can help by reading to your child and let your child read to you. Encourage reading in your home and make it a priority. Make reading fun and a time that you and your child look forward to spending together.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association on the station.
A lot of work goes into making Nebraska, Nebraska. Keeping it green. Helping it thrive. Making it fun. Everything that goes into caring for our outdoors, from waters to wildlife, plays a big role in making Nebraska home. Learn how we help conserve our state's natural resources at outdoornebraska.org.
Paid for by Nebraska Game and Parks, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to Speed and Power on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm here with Chef Bob Haney. We haven't even gotten into Heavenly Waffles.
No, I haven't even talked about culinary school or
Oh
my
my gosh.
passion for cooking.
You have a
my
passion
grandma.
for cooking since when?
I haven't talked about my grandmother.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, give us a small little insight into what Heavenly Waffles is, and then we'll
Okay.
get into the backstory of it.
So Heavenly Waffles is a dry yogurt-based waffle mix that I created using some ingredients of a pancake recipe my grandma made and some pancake recipe my mom made. And I added those ingredients together. And one day, one of the ingredients wasn't in the refrigerator, which was sour cream, but there was yogurt in the refrigerator, and boom, that's how it was created.
Dang.
Yeah.
I love Heavenly Waffles. I love it after a workout. So that's like my favorite like go-to like refill. So I really appreciate you guys.
Go to heavenlywaffles.com. Check out. We now have 4 new flavors.
Mhm.
We added protein, 4 extra grams of protein per serving. We have added collagen, only 2 grams of added sugars. No other waffle mix in the world like them.
Literally. But what started it? Like what in your brain was like, oh, I'm gonna make this something big.
So it was originally a pancake crepe recipe.
Mhm.
We sold it under the Pan Crepes trademark, which was a trademark that I had created years ago. About 7 years ago, we changed the mixing instructions. Took me 5 years and 4 food scientists to convert the original recipe to a shelf-stable dry mix. 7 years ago, we changed the mixing instructions from adding water to adding club soda and egg and oil, making them waffle style. Got out of retail because we were in retail, started selling to restaurants, training tables, coffee shops, bars, restaurants, whatever, all over the country, now all over the world because we have them in Turks and Caicos. And so we're delving into the retail. Now we're getting back into retail starting now. So we're pitching Sprouts and Kroger's and Whole Foods and every major grocery store chain in the country.
So from crack house to culinary school.
From crack house to culinary school.
I love it. But where do you want to go with this? Like, what's your big dream with Heavenly Waffles?
We want to make Heavenly Waffles a household name. We had a guy offered us, actually, our now CEO offered us $20 million about 2 years ago. And I said, no. I said, it's not about the money. It's about making Heavenly Waffles a household name. And when that happens, the money will be there. And so he said, I'm glad you said no, because I would have turned around and sold your company in 2 years for $250 million. But I want to help you. And so he and our now CFO were our advisors for 2 years. And then we brought them on full time about 6 months ago. And then we also brought on Tiffany, who is our CMO, Chief Marketing Officer. And it's a team of 5, my wife, Kathy, and me, and those 3. And then we have Mint, and Mint is an agency out of Chicago that we work with. We work with Lately Collective, which is a PR firm actually that Rebecca uses for Beatrice Bakery. But you can get Heavenly Waffles at Leon's now in Lincoln.
Wow, big time. You're moving up. Like you're slowly progressing and getting bigger and bigger.
It's going to be so much fun.
If you've tried them, you understand it.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, it's so good. But you said it's not about the money. So what is it about?
It's about, so my wife's family started Swanson Foods, Swanson Dinners, and her dad was the only heir of the Swanson family that drank and gambled and lost every penny that they made. And so you walk into every grocery store in the country, pretty much any place that sells food, there's Swanson chicken broth. And so our goal is to create generational wealth for our daughters and grandkids, and so that they have something to look back and be proud of. Beautiful. So that's kind of, and it isn't about the money, but it's about giving them the security that, we've worked our tail off to try to create for them.
Yeah, you guys have done a lot of work. You guys are here at the Ticket almost every Wednesday serving food.
Every Wednesday we're available.
I love it. But yeah, make sure to come check them out on Wednesdays. Really great waffles. And you always have something unique. Like you always got a new thing going on. So if you haven't tried them, please come down to the Ticket and try them out.
8 to 11 on Wednesdays when we're here. And the Ticket does a really good job promoting it for us. Brant Banks and Nori, Nori, they did Sunday morning pancakes, and they're the ones who got us involved. So I want to shout out to them. But they're the ones who brought us into the 93.7 Ticket family.
Yeah, well, we're happy to have you guys
love
here.
it.
Yeah, it's a great group of people here. If you haven't come down to the Ticket
It
yet.
is such a great group of people.
Such a blessing. Such a blessing. But yeah.
Do you like it here?
I love it here. The Ticket is amazing. It's opened so many doors for me, and I love all the people, all the connections.
Do you want to be in sports, like radio or broadcasting?
That's my major right now.
Oh,
yeah,
is it
that's
really?
what I'm hoping to go into.
Oh, you'll be great at that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's so sweet. But yeah, and you have a great partner alongside you.
Oh,
yeah.
I couldn't live without her.
I don't know how you'd be doing this
I
without
absolutely could not live without her.
Yeah.
24. We're together 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, except for when she goes to work out.
Well, you guys make a great couple.
The thing of it is people don't think I work out, but then when they see me lugging stuff in, because everything that we have is heavy.
All that waffle mix, someone's got to carry it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh. Well, we have a few minutes left. I got a few questions for you.
Fire away.
What is one thing you wish you could tell your younger self?
it's going to be okay.
Okay.
Everything's going to be okay. Not to worry about things.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you worry, why pray? And if you pray, why worry? So I think that's one thing. Over the years, I would stress about stuff. And so having all of that stress, because when I was a little kid, I stressed about life.
Rightfully so.
Because
yeah.
I didn't know, what was going to happen next. Because I lived in such a, up and down world of chaos. And so and because of that, I anesthetize it with drugs and alcohol. And so all of that worry didn't do me any good. So now I just really don't stress about things. It's just, Kathy's always like, when is this going to take off? When is this going to take off? I'm like, honey, it's on God's time. It's not on my time. If it was on my time, we would have already screwed it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at the people that we have around us, everyone that helps us, all the people that help promote our company and our business, our products, they wouldn't be here today if it would have taken off before and we would have failed.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the people who fail are those who quit. I'm not a quitter.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but besides your beautiful wife,
Uh-huh.
who else is someone that you would give credit to helping you get to the point where you're at today?
My grandmother, my mom,
Mm-hmm.
just because they always believed in my abilities. My grandma was a really good cook. She just meat and potatoes, but she knew how to season and flavor things. My mom was more creative. So she showed me kind of another side of, think outside the box. And then I kind of took it to another level, but they always believed that, the things that I made were amazing.
At what age did you start cooking?
4.
4. Oh, so you've been doing this for a minute. So did you fall in love with it at a young age?
The kitchen was always my safe place.
Mm-hmm.
So even when you're going through all those problems, you
Yeah.
can still whip it up at the kitchen.
Right.
No problem.
And I would look back and speaking of that, like when I was living in Kansas City and I was, in the throes of my addiction, there were times when I would look back and I'm like, man, I haven't cooked anything in 6 months. And being in the kitchen has always been a happy place and therapy for me. And so now I get to, and I never really wanted. So after my sophomore year in college playing baseball kind of became a job. It's a job.
It is. It's work.
And so I kind of lost my passion for it, to be honest. And so I never wanted to lose that passion for cooking. And so I worked in restaurants a lot, bartended, waited tables, but I never worked in the kitchen because I didn't want to lose that passion. And now that I'm able to, not be drinking and doing a lot of any drugs, there's the passion is there all the time, every day. And it's so much fun.
That's crazy how things work their way in
It's
life.
bizarre. Well, I was telling you earlier, I took that MMPI test my freshman year at Nebraska, and I was supposed to be in the hospitality business, which is, if I would have just listened to that test, my freshman year.
God works in crazy ways.
Exactly. Full circle. Coming back around, Lincoln, Nebraska.
Well, at least it landed you in Lincoln. But before we get out of here, people just got to go out and try them. If you haven't, Wednesday's a great time to start. Come here, ticket early in the morning. You can grab some. But if people want to try Heavenly Waffles, how can they get a hold of you? Where can they get them? And what do you kind of, what's the secret to them that makes them so damn good?
So heavenlywaffles.com. You can order them there, go online, and you can see all the places that serve them as well. And then the ticket, Leon's, go to Leon's on the 20th. We'll be there on the 20th handing out samples. But Leon's grocery store in Lincoln, you can go buy them tomorrow. And then April 17th, we'll be back at the ticket from 8 to 11.
And you guys got some new flavors too, right? Have those hit the shelves yet or no? Are those
those are at Leon's.
Okay.
And they're online. So we have the cinnamon apple, chocolate espresso, banana, and legacy blueberry.
I gotta try the chocolate espresso. You can get the banana.
The banana one was good. Yeah.
The banana pancakes.
Those were a hit.
Those are good too.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
they're all good.
They're all good.
I don't know what we're talking
the chicken
about.
and waffles with the fennel sausage gravy. Have you had that?
I had
one?
that. That was good.
Yeah,
that was good.
The sweet corn cheesy grits. The
curry one was one of my favorites. But you always just whip up something.
I've got all
and
kinds of
it's
things.
always so good. It's always so good.
My mind. I don't sleep a lot.
I always think about waffles. Well, do you have any final words for the people?
Do what you love and love what you do. You never work a day in your life.
Amen. You heard it from Chef Bob Haney. I love it. Well, it has been a blessing to have you on my show. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, well, guys, make sure to listen in next week. This is Speed and Power on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm your host, Megan Walker, and have a good rest of your night.